as our congregation, as the parents. So one pro, we separated into the pros and cons of being a youth in ISKCON today. So one pro that we found relatable amongst all of us was that we all have a unique perspective. Because there's no other generation like us. ISKCON started about 50 plus years ago. There's no other generation that's our age with our experience living in this, modern world. So we have a unique perspective being the younger generation of parents who have taken, or parents that might even be Part1 disciples, or parents that are, have gurus that are about in that generation. So we have that unique perspective being that in that generation. The other and the probably most obvious is the energy and enthusiasm, not only in age, but we're also new in our experience in ISKCON. So we have the enthusiasm to do what the older or elder members or seniors, like Part1 disciples, and just disciples in general might not be able to do. So we have the age, the punk, and energy to do that. Another.
Share the points that each of them can share.
There's a lot.
Oh, yes. Let's do it. You each do two. There's three of you.
All right. Another point we found interesting was that we all have a learning ability, what we call wiggle room. So we have the ability to sort of like discover spirituality in general. We have the free will to do so, because it's not, ISKCON isn't specifically forced on us, or isn't something that we've taken to task, or that we have complete faith in. I hope we do now, but we had complete faith in while we were renewing it. So we have the wiggle room to discover other points, other philosophies, and hopefully stay in ISKCON.
I would like to interject here. It's very important that we understand that the youth of today's generation, they are in the exploration stage. And it's okay to explore, and we have to allow them to explore. Some of them would like to know, how are we different from the Muslims? How are we different from the Christians? How are we similar to the Muslims? And how are we similar to the Christians? And it's a very common stage that the youth of this age, 13 through 16, 17, they go through that. And as parents, we shouldn't say, oh, why are you talking about the Christians and the Muslims? Because the natural tendency for any parent is my child thinking of leaving Christian and going to some other church or some other mosque? That is not the case. They want to learn. They want to explore. The more we allow our children to learn about other religions, the more they will begin to appreciate and respect the other religion. Because right now, many of our kids don't even know why we celebrate Christmas. They think my neighbor has a Christmas tree, I'm putting a Christmas tree, but the meaning behind it, they have no clue. So it's very important that we teach our children and we expose them to this, because that's when they learn, it ain't that bad. We are similar. Different beliefs, different names, same. So they need to learn to explore. So it gives them what they call the wiggle room to really learn and explore. And as parents, we have to be very open-minded, because the more we shut down the exploration, the more they feel that they cannot wiggle. They're in a tight spot, they feel suffocated. And when kids at this age feel suffocated, they'll be waiting for the day when they will want to run away and be free. And we don't want that. So we have to help kids to wiggle. That's why they call it the wiggle room. Go ahead. Next part.
Explaining. And I think the fourth out of the six that we have is that we're not yet burdened with too many responsibilities. I think a majority, if not all of us, are still in school. Some of us in middle school, high school, and my sister being the oldest, she's in college. So she might be the most burdened at the moment, but we're not employed or have any exterior responsibilities that take up most of our time, so we're able to devote a majority of our time to ISKCON, and we're willing to do that with energy and enthusiasm. Our fifth point is that we have the opportunity to travel to different places. I think a lot of us have wanted to go a lot of different places, not just the traditional, I want to go to India to see family, I want to go to Europe, I want to go to Africa. So we have that unique desire to go to see different places, which I think is more common in the youth than in adults. Correct me if I'm wrong. And the final is that we enjoy meeting all different types of people from different backgrounds. It's because ISKCON was started, obviously by His Grace, His Holiness Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. He came to the West and then traveled the rest of the world, making so many karmis, devotees, and so there's such a variety of cultural backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, races. So we can find it very interesting that we see so many youth that are from so many different parts of the world, and we love to interact with them and how they live their daily lives in different countries. So those are the 6 main points we took away from the pro list of being a youth in ISKCON.
So being a youth in ISKCON, you know, if we remember our childhood, when many of us were children, many of us were youth, and many, sure, Junior. And, you know, if we think about our times, I know sometimes till today, I used to have my quiet moment, and I would always ask myself, you know, what was it like being a 15-year-old, 16-year-old? Did I have the same desires and thoughts that my kids do have right now? And I remember when I was as 10 or 11, my father bought a Britannica encyclopedia set. At the time, it was a very common thing. And I used to spend hours reading on each and every country. And my dad bought me a journal when he went to Africa as a gift. And I started, you know, jotting down each and every country in the world and the capital of the country and what language they speak and what religion they were. And one time my dad asked me, why are you doing this? You're wasting your time. And I said, no, I want to learn about other countries. I want to see what they do, you know, how is it different there? But I was only like 10 or 11. So imagine 15, 16, what's going through their mind. So we should allow these kids to visit other temples, and you know, when they have, and I always ask parents, whenever they have youth retreats, whenever they have kids camp, whenever they have anything for children, send them. Because when they get exposed, they make more devotee friends, not just in Harrisburg, but when these kids went to a Potomac temple, you should have seen Ishika. This girl did not want to come back. She was like, can it be another one more day? She made new friends, did you know? She made new friends that she has never made before. She learned about other girls her age that, okay, I'm not that bad. There are others like me too. She explored herself. That's what we need to do with our children. Sir, go ahead. You got the mic now.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we also had, like, as we had a pro list, we also had a con list. So one con, our first con was dual life. So we all go to public school. We go to normal school, and then we also go to temple. So we have like 2 lives, kind of, you could say, because we have to, one life is under the school and one life is at temple, and we do different things according to like different circumstances. So that's one con, because we have to live like 2 different people sometimes. And another thing was not given a voice, underestimated. Sometimes like kids in particular, any type of kid is just not like given a chance to speak because we don't have enough knowledge, as they say, as parents say, or we just don't know what we're talking about. So like the fact that like it's just not, we're underestimated, and yeah.
And I want to interject here for a moment. And kids, I will interject when I feel like I have to, expand. It's a very important point that as parents we realize that our children do lead a double life. We sometimes forget that because we are so caught up in our lives You know, see, because if we think, you know, majority of us, we come from a different country, we come here and we got a job, we're just trying to make a living, and we bring our kids. Either the kids came with us from our hometown or they were born here, and we want them, we expect them to blend in. But it's not easy. If we think of how we came here, I remember for my husband, one time he said to me, when he came to America in 1978, in January, I think it was January 15th. I got it right, okay. January 15, 1978, many of us were not in America at that time. I don't know if many of us were born at that time, but I was born. So when he landed in Logan Airport in Boston, it was snow. Coming from an African country, you have snow thrown in your face. And you had to adjust. And it wasn't an easy thing for many of us. Sometimes, we have lives where it's imposed on us and we are forced to adjust. But we were adults. These are kids. And sometimes we expect them to adjust quickly like us, but that is not the case. That is not fair. So we always have to be very sensitive to our children that they lead a double life. They are one and they are another. And sometimes they have to switch the caps. Okay, now I'm a devotee, I gotta, be a presbyter, then you speak proper English, then you speak this, and then they go to school, they're like, okay, no, I can't say, Hari Bol Prabhu, I say, hey dude. Hey man. They can't say, all words to Prabhupada. So, they have to switch their caps. And it's a normal life for them to go through. So we have to understand that our children are leading a double life, and we have to be very sensitive and very careful. And that's when they need more help. And the voice, I can very much relate to that, because sometimes we take these kids for granted. And we always want them to be 5 years old when they are 15 years old. We always want them to be 15 years old when they are 25 years old. And sometimes, what happens is, as parents, or even as adults, when we have seen a child growing up from birth, and when they start telling us, Mom, you can't do that, we're like, who are you to tell me that?